Yeah, so that pentatonic scale, the one that we all use, well, it turns out there's way better. My name is David, and what you're about to watch is a workshop that was taught live in the Guitar Playback Academy. Every day of the week, you get a similar workshop. You get access to all my courses, discussion boards, so many things I can't mention here. And I'm going to hook you up with a free 14-day trial. The link's below. But for now, grab your guitar, take notes. This is on the longer side, but it's well worth your watch. Check it out. Enjoy. So we're talking about playing blues in a way that does not sound redundant or boring or repetitive. You know deep inside that you're not really making music. You're just repeating some stuff that you've been playing for decades sometimes, and it sounds okay, but it's not very exciting. It's not very interesting for you. I'm talking about all the minor pentatonic stuff, all those licks. Those are great, right? I don't want you to forget that. That's part of the vocabulary. All that's going to stay, but we're going to add a few spices that I think are going to lead you towards a path of freedom, which is ultimately what we're after here. We're going to cover very traditional blues today in G. Could be an A, could be an E, it doesn't matter, but in G. And we have 3 chords. Typically in the blues, we'll have 3 chords. So if we're in G, we're gonna have a G7 chord, a C7 chord, and a D7 chord. Now those chords, sometimes they are given numbers, 1, 4, 5. You've probably heard of that before. If you don't know, it's really simple. Each chord is assigned can be assigned a number from 1 to 7. With modifiers, flats, sharps, but here there's no modifiers. 1, 4, 5, that's the first note of the major scale. So if we're in G, that'll be G. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's a C. Okay, my next chord is a C. And then 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's a D. That's where it comes from, 1, 4, 5. In the blues, typically, we're gonna use what are called dominant chords. Dominant 7 chords, which is a 7, basically, G7. If all of that is way above your head, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Just kind of like giving you a little bit of background here, but practically speaking, it's okay if you don't get this as we're covering what we're going to cover next. That's a G7, and then a C7, and then back to G7 right here. Okay. C7. So we're kind of used to that sound, right? Nothing should come as a surprise. You kind of guessed what's coming next? Yeah, that's the point. We're almost done with our progression. Then we have the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a D7 and a C7 and a G7. Then this is like a turnaround. We're going to go back to that D7. And we've got over. Now, typically when we play over the blues, that's typically the first scale you learn. What do? Well, G minor pentatonic. And it's cool because you can play it throughout. We've all done that, right? So many times. And it works great until it doesn't. Until you know too much. When you start learning a little bit more about music theory, your ear changes a little bit and you start discerning things that maybe are not what you thought they were. Notes can clash together. And when they clash, it sounds something like this. They're too close. That doesn't sound great. It sounds tensed, right? And once you understand that, you start realizing that, wait a minute, here I'm not matching elements together because the minor pentatonic scale, it says it in the name, is a minor scale. So there's something in that minor pentatonic scale that makes it minor. That something is the third. The third determines the nature of the scale you're playing. Is it a major scale or a minor scale? And yes, there are a lot of major scales. As long as it has a major third, it's a major scale. As long as it has a minor scale, it's a minor scale. There's tons of minor scales. Natural minor, harmonic minor, minor pentatonic, Dorian, Phrygian. All those are minor scales. They're part of the minor family. And what I just did here, over my blues, over that first chord, which is a dominant 7 chord, it's considered to be a major chord because it has a major third. Yet, we're playing a minor scale over the major chord. That clashes. Now you're gonna say, well, that sounds great. But if I really play it slower. Wait, what? That note. That's horrible. You ever want to play like this? That sounded good, but if I really land on it, it's horrible. The blues is not a perfect form of music. There is this tension, continuous tension in the blues, and makes it sound what it is. That's what makes it sound blues as opposed to classical. Classical music is very organized, where you're really matching musical elements together. Unless you really want something to carry the emotion of being tensed, you know, that could be used as some effects, but typically you're going to match musical elements together. You're not going to have that clash that makes what the blues is. We're going to keep that. That's the foundation. That's what you're probably doing already, right? You probably are using to your advantage. Maybe you didn't realize, but you're using that clash to your advantage. So all those licks are clashy licks. They clash. But that's okay. We're going to keep that. But we're going to add to what you're already doing an element of matching elements. Here's our empty fretboard. And on this, I'm going to... I'm just going to draw out that chord, that first chord, the G7 chord. I'm playing it in this position, but there's a lot of different positions that I could use this in, right? I could play here, here, here. Same chord, right? But I'm deciding to concentrate right here to make things clear. Now, if I look at this chord, each of the notes have a number tied to it, an interval, which makes what this chord is. Notice they're not in the same order of what they should be. On a piano, they probably would be. You would have an order of, you know, increasing order of number from 1, in this case, to 7. But on the guitar, we don't have 1, 3, 5, 7 simply because the fingering would be really difficult to do that. It might result in like really weird shapes. So we're kind of breaking the rules. We're skipping some notes and reorganizing it in a way that is playable. That's why. But if we look at these notes, we have a 1, which is also called the root. On a G7 chord, the root is G. So that's what we have here. We have, see that third? That third doesn't have any modifier attached to it. No flats, no sharps. It means that it's a major third. But as a minor third, it would be indicated with a little B, flat 3. That's a minor third. So this is our chord. Now we're going to take these notes and we're going to concentrate on one zone of the fretboard. Anytime we see a 1, a 3, a 5, or a 7 within this area of the fretboard, we're going to concentrate maybe between frets 2 and 5 or 6, okay? Instead of having this big fretboard. Over this chord, I'm going to duplicate this fretboard just below here. And over this chord, what we usually play is this minor pentatonic scale. So you see how some notes are common and some notes are not. So I'm going to highlight the notes that are not common, and I'm going to make them hollow. All right. So all the color notes are common to both scales. Well, actually, no, they're not. The 4 is not. The 4 is unique to the minor pentatonic scale. But anytime we really have a discrepancy, I'm going to indicate it with a ghost note. So that third clashes, right? Which explained why over my track, if I really landed on that third, playing a minor third on the guitar, major third is occurs in the chord, clashes, makes it blues. So what we're going to do is actually blend both of these together to create somewhat of a hybrid. It's not really a scale, it's a shape, a hybrid shape where we're basically superimposing on top of each other both elements, the chord, and if I just played the notes of the chords over my backing track, it would sound perfect, but boring. It would sound perfectly boring. I'm basically stripping away everything that makes a blues, that minor third. But we're gonna blend both together. So let's take a look at what it looks like on our fretboard, okay? We'll work off of this top one, which are the notes of my dominant 7 chord. And on top of it, we're gonna superimpose the minor pentatonic scale. So we'll start with the root. Well, the root is already there. And then up that note, okay, I'm just gonna drag and drop my mouse and add it here. This note, the 4th, okay, we'll add it because it's not there. The 5th, add it. I forgot that 3rd. No, that 3rd is already there, yeah. The flat 7, the 1, already there. The minor 3rd, up, we're gonna add it. The 4th, we'll add it too. The 1 and this one. Okay, so now what do we have here? I'll delete this one, is a shape that blends the notes of our chord and of our minor pentatonic scale. So if I play this, it's gonna sound something like this. Perfect blend. It might sound a little dense, but we're gonna make it a little less dense in a sec. So I'll just play the scale. That sounds kind of cool. Sounds a little different from just the minor pentatonic. I'm blending both. You're already starting to hear, oh, we're going in this direction now. We are conserving the clashiness of the blues with more of the classical world, you know, matching the elements together. Okay, now I want you to think of this. If you have been playing for a little while, I bet most of us, the very first scale we learned, a lot of us, is probably the minor pentatonic scale. And a lot of us got stuck in it, right? Which explains why when, you know, it's nighttime, the kids are in bed or whatever, you got your guitar here, you got your drink, you got Netflix, and you're just watching, and what are you doing? You're playing minor pentatonic. You're stuck in the box, which is a good box to be stuck in because it sounds good, but you're stuck in it. Let's think about that. Why are we stuck in the box? Well, because maybe it's the first thing we learned, so it's hard to get out of it, maybe. But there is a physical reason why so many of us are stuck in the box. It has to do with the way that that box is built on the guitar, because if, you know, your friend keyboard player, it's nighttime, he's got his drink, he's got Netflix, he's got his keyboard. No, he doesn't, but, you know, if he had his keyboard, he wouldn't play minor pentatonic. He'd play, you know, the major scale or something like that. It has to do with the physical aspect of playing guitar. When we play minor pentatonic, it's very finger driven. How many times have you heard this? That kind of bending this note right here. It's not because we like the sound of the 4th, it's because it falls under our fingers really well. That string is a pretty easily bendable string, the 3rd string. Fairly easy. This one is too. Whoops, sorry. This one is too. So we bend it a lot. This one is not, so we don't hear it. It sounds cool, but we don't do it a lot because it's harder to do. This one, not often, because I'm playing with the index. Oh, that hurts. We don't do that. The reason we play minor pentatonic when we noodle is that it's easy to do. That's why. Let's take this back, this hybrid shape that we had, by blending the notes of that G7 chord with the minor pentatonic scale. That's what we have. This shape right here, when I was playing over it, when I was using it to improvise a little bit, it sounded okay. I kind of like the sound, but it wasn't super musical, right? Because of the way that it's built, I've got to focus on playing it correctly. And when I'm focusing on one thing, it's hard to focus on the other. I can't focus on being musical when I look at something like this, because that scale has, okay, we got 2 notes here, reminiscent of the minor pentatonic, cool. But then we got 3 notes, and I've got to go away a little bit of my zone of the fretboard. Okay, that's back to pentatonic zone. This has 3 notes. Okay, so do I pick this one, the 4? Or the 3? Or, you know, it's kind of difficult. So what we're going to do is take this hybrid shape, and I'm going to make up a word here. Pentatonikize it. We're going to pentatonikize it, which basically what I mean by that, we're going to look at the physical thing of the minor pentatonic scale in the first position. And we're going to make a 2-note scale out of this, 2-note shape. So we've got to take decisions here. These 2 are obvious. That's all I'm going to have. And that's even greater because those are the same notes of the pentatonic scale. I don't have to relearn the system. All right, I've got to make a decision here. Do I delete this note? Sure. I could. Or do I delete this note? I could do. That sounds great too. Or do I delete this one? Yeah, that works, but that's pentatonic. I'm already doing this. Let's try something different. There's no right or wrong. You're going to delete one of these notes to make it a 2-note scale. I'll delete that. Boom. Here we have 2 notes. Great. Here we have 3 notes. Okay. I'm going to try to conserve each time, you know, just like I did here. I'm going to try to conserve one note that is outside of the minor pentatonic to make it kind of stand out. You know, here we have the 3rd and the 4th. We don't have to do 3rd and 4th again. Maybe I'll do flat 3 and 3, like that. There we go. Now we have a 2-note per string scale that is born from superimposing those 2 elements, the chord and the minor pentatonic scale, but it's different. Let's play that. Cool. Okay, I'm starting to get ideas here. Now, the beauty of this is that if you mess up at some point, if that shape is kind of hard to memorize and you hit a wrong note, that wrong note is probably going to be a note directed by the habit that you have of playing minor pentatonic. That's okay. It's still going to work because you've been doing it for so many years. But let's try to improvise over this a little bit. So I've got my loop here. We got the G. Interesting, right? It's starting to get ideas that are sounding a little different from the typical minor pentatonic scale. It's a little more modern, maybe. It doesn't have to stop there. We do the same exact thing, but this time we're going to blend our minor pentatonic scale with the notes of the 2nd chord. Now, just like we did before, I'm going to take the same zone of the fretboard between frets 2 and 6, and I'm going to fill in the blanks. So, and on top of this, I'm going to superimpose the minor pentatonic scale right there. So if I play these notes, they're all going to work. I can make it kind of pentatonic. So maybe I'll delete this note, and maybe I'll delete this note. Cool. So I can start playing there. And if I remove the track, you hear the chord change. You heard that I changed chords there. You're hearing those changes without needing the backing track. And first, I'm not playing anything. I'm letting the backing track start to develop that conversation. And just a few notes are enough. And then I'm going to highlight. Okay, at this point we're on the turnaround, and on the turnaround you need to do this. Click here to watch the full workshop. This will give you a free 14-day trial to the Academy. Click on it. I can't wait to see you there. You can cancel anytime. You're gonna love it. I'll see you right there.